Hi, today I'm going to show you how to make this, this situation right here. This is a quick little VTube setup that I've created here using Unreal Engine 5. What's really significant about this, besides being, a pretty convincing motion activated character, is that it's not really using many motion controls. I'm not using a suit, I'm not using VR gear, I'm not using any kind of trackers. This is all done using my iPhone and using my Windows machine. So between the two of these, I'm able to set up this character that can, have a lot of life. You can see this is just kind of coming from my head tilt. This is great for all kinds of vtube or virtual avatar scenarios. In this video, I'll break down all the animation blueprints and show you how I did this. And if you stick around for the next video, part 2, I'll show you how to do this. Well, alright, let's get to it. This tutorial assumes that you've got a CG character that has all the blend shapes that you need to use with Live Link Face. If you don't have one or you don't know how to do that, check out my previous video on this subject. I've got a handy checklist that will make sure you get everything set up properly. I've also got upcoming content on how to make virtual characters from scratch. Let's start by importing everything we're going to need. We'll import our desk, we'll import our computer. If you don't have those either, you can always grab a free one from a site like CG Trader or BlendSwap. First, we're going to need to make a sitting pose for our character. I'm going to do this in Blender. I'm going to select the bones, and I'm just going to move everything into a basic sitting pose. Be sure to leave the rest of the T-pose in place. Now let's export it and import that back in via FBX. Next, get back into your animation blueprint, the one where we have Live Link set up. We're going to be dragging information from our Live Link data pin, in this case, head roll, head yaw, and head pitch. Shout out goes to Lalo3D, who originally showed me how to do this trick in his video. We're going to go ahead and map these data ranges to the maximum angles we want our character's head to be able to travel. I found this gave me the best mix of restriction and possibility when rotating the head. Multiply each range by 0.3. This is so we can spread these rotations across 3 separate bones. We're going to connect these to make rotator nodes. We'll have an identical make rotator for each. We'll need to turn each of these into a value we'll use to turn the head, so promote them to variables. You'll realize quickly that not each axis lines up properly, and your mileage may vary on your skeleton, and I had to switch one axis into another. Go into your anim graph and make 3 modify bone nodes. We're going to use them to target our head, neck, and shoulders. Plug in your rotator values and set the rotation mode to add to existing. I should note here that my skeleton has just 1 head bone and 1 neck bone. I used my upper spine bone to get my shoulders to move. You may have to modify more bones to get this effect if you have multiple neck joints. Now's the fun part. We've got our head and torso moving, but we need to look like we're sitting. Let's add that sitting animation. We'll drag and drop it from the asset window and use an apply additive to layer our Live Link transformations on top of it. Now let's add in some 2-bone IK nodes. These are a really simple way of applying points to the body to place in physical space and let other nodes catch up. Set each up with your hand bones. So where are these hands going to go? Now we could plot in some exact coordinates and type in a vector value, but that sounds really tedious. My favorite way to do this is to make a new blueprint class for each item that we want to track and use them as targets. Make a new blueprint for your first hand. Since Unreal 5 currently uses an icon to show us where things are, add a sphere and shrink it to a manageable size. We're going to need this so that we can see clearly. Don't forget to set actor hidden in game, otherwise they'll be visible when you start recording. Next, duplicate your actor and create the next hand reference. In our event graph, we can write get actor of class nodes to find our new blueprints. We'll get the location of each of them and save as vector values. If you're guessing that we'll plug these back into our IK effectors in the anim graph, you've guessed correctly. While my results were already looking pretty good, I decided I wanted to go back and fix one thing. I decided to do the same system for the joint targets. This is what the anim graph needs to point the elbows properly, as IK chains are solvers that are always trying to do the math backwards to see where the arm should end up, and they need a point to focus on to be able to show where an elbow or some sort of middle joint will point. From here, it's time to play around with the placement of our hands. I added more modify bones to rotate my hands properly. It's important to remember that the iPhone camera and your face have a 1-to-1 relationship when it comes to determining rotation. So make sure that your iPhone is sitting just above the screen you'll be looking at. Rotate your character's default position to be facing the virtual computer. This is looking pretty good. In the next video, we'll go over how to set up the scene. We'll add lighting and add a background. We'll tell Unreal to set up our default studio camera, and, as promised, we'll do this. If you got stuck along the way, you can use these final node graphs. This is the stuff that I got working for this project. If you're brand new to Unreal, some of this stuff may seem a little intense. If you'd like to follow along with me in real time, I have long-form work streams that cover the concepts of these videos in a little bit more detail, with some further and better explanations at a slower pace. The streams are available on my Gumroad page, and buying it once unlocks all the long-form behind the scenes for this entire series. These aren't necessarily full-on tutorials, but if you think they might be helpful, check out the link in the description. This is also a nice way for you to thank me for the work I'm doing and help keep these videos going.